The Ukrainians are saying that they've managed to hit two very important Russian aircraft for Moscow's aerial campaign against this country. One of them is called the A-50 Beriev, which is an airborne early warning and control system. In other words, an aircraft that picks out targets on the ground and coordinates the Russian Air Force's combat against those targets. Now, the Ukrainians are saying that this A-50 Beriev was destroyed. They also said that they managed to hit a plane called an IL-22, which is essentially an airborne command post that the Russians are using. Now, the Ukrainians had originally said that that aircraft was also destroyed. However, later, an image emerged seeming to show that plane's tail heavily damaged. However, the plane apparently had managed to land at an airfield inside Russia. Later, there was audio that emerged seeming to show a Russian Air Force jet that was escorting this plane, asking an airport on the ground to give that plane clearance for an emergency landing. Let's listen in.
82014, просил борт передать срочную информацию, 75 106, его подбили, посадка в Анапе планирует, срочно нужна скорая и пожарная машина.
The Ukrainians are saying that these hits on these aircraft happened in the Sea of Azov, which is actually very far away from any sort of Ukrainian-held territory. The Ukrainians have also not said how exactly they managed to hit these aircraft. The Russians, for their part, have so far not commented on the matter. For Plotkin, CNN, Dnipro, Ukraine.
As the Russian army assaults Avdiivka in eastern Ukraine, U.S.-provided Bradley infantry fighting vehicles are key to keeping the Ukrainians in the fight. We're ready, the crew say, and then unleash their powerful 25mm gun on Russian troops in nearby tree lines, helping Ukrainian infantry blunt an assault. The vehicle's commander's call sign is Barbie. He tells me the Bradleys are making all the difference. I doubt that we'd be talking with you doing this interview if we didn't have the Bradleys, he says. Most likely, the northern flank would have been already lost without the Bradleys. They have no time to lose, the next task waiting as the Russians try to press forward.
The Ukrainians say the Bradley is now one of their most effective tools in the defense of Avdiivka. Because of its armor and its strong cannon, it can easily defeat Russian armored vehicles.
The Bradleys also own the dark, the crew says, able to find and target Russian troops with their thermal scopes. You can see the round's impact after they fire a salvo at Russian forces. I asked Barbie if the Russians fear the Bradley. The Russians are very afraid of the Bradley, he says. We were getting radio intercepts where we could hear their infantry shouting that the Bradley was coming and they couldn't do anything against it. They've come a long way since Ukraine's failed counter-offensive this past summer, when Bradleys and other Western vehicles were often bogged down by minefields and Russian artillery barrages, unable to unleash their firepower. Now, it often looks like this. Ukraine's 47th Mechanized Brigade provided us with these videos of what they say is Bradleys firing at Russian infantry positions. They also provided several videos purporting to show a Bradley beating Russia's most capable main battle tank, the T-90, in a duel. The Bradley fires salvos at the Russian tank. After taking many hits, the T-90 seems to be out of control, its turret spinning. The vehicle then hits a tree before the Ukrainians send a drone to finish it off. The Russian crew manages to bail. But the Ukrainians fear this could end soon if U.S. Congress doesn't okay additional funding for military aid, and both U.S. and Ukrainian officials have said that Ukraine is already forced to ration some ammunition.
The assistance that we provided has now ground to a halt. The attacks that the Russians are conducting are only increasing.
Barbie and his crew say so far they have no shortages of ammo or spare parts for the Bradleys, a key weapon as they try to hold the line against a massive Russian invasion force.
An advisor to the Ukrainian president warns any slow solutions to the war will have a disastrous long-term impact not just on Ukraine, but for the world. And while Ukraine waits for more military assistance from the West, troops on the front lines are forced to ration ammunition for weapons that are often decades old. More now from CNN's Fred Plykin reporting in from eastern Ukraine.
The battle is already in full swing when the artillery unit gets their orders. Their battle cat Sioma follows the commander to the US-provided M777 gun, and they get to work.
So the soldiers have now been given a target, and they're working as fast as possible to try and fire as many rounds as accurately towards the Russian positions.
Three rounds, that's it. The commander tells me ammo shortages are a real problem here. There is more of a deficit, he says. When we were in Zaporizhia direction, we used 50 to 60 shells a day. Now it's 20 to 30 maximum. The resupply truck only brings a few more rounds, and with US military aid ground to a halt, things could get even tougher for the Ukrainians soon. We're near Marinka on the Eastern Front. The Russians recently managed to take Marinka after essentially annihilating the entire town with their artillery. Moscow's forces face no ammo shortages, the Ukrainians say, after getting around 1 million artillery rounds from North Korea in the past year. Even as we prepare to leave, the position is under Russian fire. We drive away, constantly watching for Russian drones and possible artillery impacts. Different day, different front line, similar problems for Ukraine's forces, major shortages. We're in the battle zone near Avdiivka with a special forces unit called Omega. It's 22 degrees below freezing. They want to fire artillery rockets at the Russians, but lacking Western arms, they've mounted a Soviet-era launcher on a US-made pickup truck. They set up fast, but then this.
Yeah. So one of the issues that the Ukrainians have using this very old technology is that sometimes it simply doesn't work. It's very cold right now. They think something's frozen and it's just not working.
All they can do is de-rig and leave before the Russians see them. We wanted to strike at the enemy's positions, but unfortunately sometimes it happens. The equipment does not work, he says. Technology does not stand still, and as we can see in this war, the technologies from the West are giving very good results. The unit later did manage to fire 3 rockets after troubleshooting for several hours. Delays that can be costly in a war where Ukraine is already badly outgunned. Fred Pleitgen, CNN in eastern Ukraine.